this occasion. Let's welcome the very most honorable Becky Opin, the former chairman of Boko local government area that transformed Boko within just a few months. The Vandi Kwasu Boko and the Boko East hopeful for the House of Assembly come 2023. Honorable Becky Opin, please come to the high table. She's not here alone. Mommy, please come to the high table.
And I would never ask you. I just kept it to myself. I don't wanna know if you're playing me. Keep it on the low. 'Cause my heart can't take it.
She used to be my mommy during my days at Radio Benue before I moved to Radio Nigeria. She was my mommy there. She used to do so many things for me back in the day. Mrs. Honorable Becky Opin, we thank you so much for coming here. She's not here alone. She's here with Honorable Richard Nyambam, who is the APC chairman of Boko local government area. Let's see your hand. Let's welcome you here formally. Thank you very much for coming. Elder Oshio Saandu, we also like to welcome you and thank you for coming to this occasion. We also like to recognize Honorable Ominye Otogbeku, who is also here with us. We welcome you, he's there. Ladies and gentlemen, another very wonderful gentleman is here with us together. He is a doctor of philosophy in political science. He is a scholar per excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to this arena Dr. John Tutsua, a gubernatorial candidate and a doctor of philosophy at the Benue State University. Please, a round of applause for him. Thank you for coming. We also like to recognize Asima Lazarus, who is a chairmanship aspirant of APC in Goma local government area. Thank you very much for coming on this occasion. Mrs. Oyiman Alu, we also like to welcome you here formally. And my Oga at the top, Mr. Sam Ogabidu, the former ANA chairman of Benue State, we welcome you to this occasion. Thank you very much, Sam, for coming. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a time for the erudite scholar, a doctor of philosophy in philosophy and religion at the Benue State University, a senior lecturer for that matter. Ladies and gentlemen, this man knows so much. He has different master's degrees in different fields of endeavor. He is our book reviewer here at this occasion. I'd like to, in a very special way, welcome Dr. Oliver Agundu to come forward and review the book.
My father used to tell me that dreams come true. Now I believe I can find it in you. The road is rough and tough, but you got to be strong. Gotta hold on to your dreams and what you do. The plantation boys, a newborn is coming.
Okay. I have been told that the presentation will come before the review. So we have swapped on the program. Please, if you have the program, there's a little swap there. So we'd like to invite Bishop Emmanuel Omobude.
Somebody say plantation. Sing along, say ay, 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 ay. Everybody say plantation.
We'll just do this little adjustments. On your program of event, there is a book review. That's where we are now. But in the time of discussing with the book reviewer, he had to lecture me on things of book presentation and unveiling. It's actually an academic turf that is his specialty. And it's agreed that you do a citation of the author. The author will be presented, a citation of the author. So at this point, the citation of the author will be done, which is not captured in the program, before the erudite scholar, a wonderful one, Pierre, will come and do a review of this book. Thank you.
Okay, so someone is coming to take the citation now. Thank you very much for that little adjustment here. Okay, thank you.
Good morning, or is it afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I request the author and his wife to please step forward while I present this citation. Thank you very much. This is the citation of the man, Bula Wilfred Dehidi. He always likes that Bula to come like a bomb. Bula. Born on the 16th day of August 1970 at Our Lady of Apostles Hospital, Jos, to late Air Force Lieutenant Bula Wilfred Ame, who died in the ill-fated Nigerian Airways VC-10 plane crash near Lagos on the 21st of November 1969 while on an official duty as the Provost Marshal of the Nigerian Air Force. And late Mrs. Bula Benedict Nyenenge. Bula hails from Badim in Igoru Council Ward of Ipiap District in Boko Local Government Area in Benue State. He is Chief by tribe. Wilfred started his early education at the LGEA Primary School, Makurdi, in 1975. He moved to Demonstration Primary School, also in Makurdi, in 1976, where he completed his primary education in 1981. Thereafter, he proceeded to the Air Force Military School, Jos, in 1981, where he was enlisted into the Nigerian Air Force as a junior airman, JAM. History has repeated itself. We have his young son, Guto, here. He's also a junior airman in the same institution. He completed a 5-year military and academic training in 1986 and obtained the WAEC GCE in the same year. He sought and gained admission in 1987 into the College of Environmental Studies, Kaduna Polytechnic, to study architecture. He completed the training with a higher national diploma in 1993. Thereafter, he proceeded for the National Youth Service in Anambra State in 1994 and was posted to the firm Messrs. Shades Associates at Onitsha, where he handled several projects, notable amongst them being the Banex Plaza, Old Market Road, Onitsha, Banex Plaza, Nnewi, blocks of residential and commercial buildings, amongst many others. He was retained by Messrs. Shades Associates and made the project architect after the completion of his National Youth Service in 1995. In 1996, he moved over to Messrs. Dozier Ilozo and Associates, an architectural consultancy firm also in Onitsha, where he was made the principal consulting architect, Onitsha region. In late 1996, he moved to Abuja and joined the consultancy firm Messrs. Pilak Associates as a member of the consortium that worked on the renowned Ship House in Abuja, now housing the Ministry of Defense headquarters. Having developed self within a very short period of time in consultancy, the drive to move and complement same in construction took him to join the firm Messrs. Shelter Development Limited in 1997, sorry. He rose rapidly from a project architect through senior project architect, HOD architecture, to assistant project manager architecture. In this capacity, he was engaged on several projects across the country, notable amongst them being the Plateau State Government Lodge in Asokoro in 1997, Jigawa State Governor's Lodge, Asokoro, 1997, Nasarawa State Governor's Lodge, Asokoro, 1997, Jigawa State Government House, Dutse, 1998, Taraba State Presidential Lodge, Jalingo, 1997, Taraba State Sports Complex, Jalingo, 1998. Taraba State Governors Lodge, Asokoro, 1999. Sokoto State Governors Lodge, Asokoro, 1999. Sokoto State Presidential Lodge, Sokoto, 2003. Niger State Liaison Office, CBD, Abuja, 1998. Niger State Presidential Lodge, Mina, 2000. ITF Corporate Headquarters, Meitama, also in 2000. This is amongst many other projects that he handled. As a purely private consent-trained architect, Bulla Wilfred, while still in the employ of Messrs Shelter Development Limited, registered in 2002 the firm Messrs Wiltap Andrews Limited for the purpose of developing the practice of architecture and promoting the construction industry in general. But with an in-depth understanding of the Nigerian system, he knew it was absolutely difficult to break into the highly competitive market without a political will. Thus, he resigned his services to Shelter Development in 2006, March 17, to seek political office in his home state of Benue State. He contested and won the House of Assembly election under the PDP in 2007 to represent the good people of Boko East constituency in the Benue State House of Assembly. As an honorable member, he was at various times Chairman House Committee on Youth and Sports, Chairman House Committee on Land and Survey, Member House Committee on Works and Housing. He remains the only member in the 6th Benue Assembly to have sponsored private bills, 2 of them in number, as part of his legislative experiment. He enrolled into the Management Sciences Department of the prestigious Benue State University in 2008 to do a master's in business administration, that's an MBA in management. His earlier membership of chartered bodies such as Nigerian Institute of Management and the Institute of Chartered Economists of Nigeria prepared him adequately and granted him the waivers to undertake the new challenge. He went into full-time consultancy in 2011 after the completion of his term at the Benue State House of Assembly, setting up his office in Jos, Plateau State, where the firm he had registered previously, Wiltap Andrews Limited, is to date the Plateau State government appointed consultant on building projects. Wiltap Andrews Limited schedules on the plateau include but are not limited to advising government on all housing projects within and outside the state, preparing briefs, drawing and supervisory consultancy services. To date, Wiltap Andrews Limited has supervised to completion over 200 primary and junior secondary schools in Plateau State under the UBE scheme. Prepared drawings, bills of quantities, and projected contractors for the renovation and establishment of several general hospitals in Plateau State. Notably amongst them being those in Pankshin, Bokos, Ampa, Mangu, and major secondary schools in Dengi, Ampa, Mangu, Bokos, and Pankshin. Honors and membership. Bulla Wilfred is a traditional title holder, the Onye Chorozo one of Amodioka Uku in Imo State. Umu Dioka Uku. Okay. He is affiliated to the following chartered bodies: the Nigerian Institute of Management as a member, Member Institute of Chartered Economists of Nigeria. He is a fellow of the Institute of Public Diplomacy and Management. He is a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Human Capital Development. He is also a member of the ex-JAM Association, and he's a past national president of the ex-JAM Association. Ex-JAM meaning ex-students of Jos Air Force Military School. He served as president between 1997 and 2007 to 2011. Bula Wilfred is a prolific writer with a lot of unpublished works, ranging from the religious, fictional creativity, to public analysis of topical issues. The Fullness of Marriage is his first published work. He is also the president, global network coordinator of the Learning Center. The Learning Center, a mind repositioning and reengineering platform which thrives on the issues that are not conventionally gotten in formal educational and academic systems. He is a teacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ and a public motivational speaker with the strong belief in, if you can think it, you can do it. He loves traveling, road trips, the outdoors, with a penchant of breaking into new frontiers by making friends and reading widely. He is married with children. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the man, Bula Wilfred Tehidi. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that wonderful citation of the man, Bula Wilfred. As he was talking here, my brother arrived this arena, the most doctor of philosophy in history department of Benue State University, Dr. Elijah Tedo Igbano. Please, a round of applause for my brother there. Thank you for coming. Dr. Oliver, I think it's the time now. Yeah. So, the book reviewer is going to come up next to review the book now. A senior lecturer from Benue State University, Dr. Oliver Agodo.
Yeah, thank you, MC. The author and your maybe wife, other members of the high table, please let me crave your indulgence to stand on the well-established protocol. We have wasted a lot of time, but here we are on the main item of our gathering here this morning. You have been told that today is my You have been told that today is my birthday, so when I was approached to perform this role today, I protested that I should be somewhere doing what I have just done, but my elder brother insisted that I should be part of this occasion and in this capacity as the book reviewer. So I obliged, and here I am. I don't want to waste much of your time because he has taken a bull by the horn by reflecting on one of the most topical, most controversial, most misunderstood issue in human history. So today I'm going to review the book titled The Fullness of Marriage, authored by Bula Wilfred. The book reviewer is my humble self, and the book is discussed, or the book is written in 13 and 12 chapters, but divided into 3 parts. And we have about 145 pages of this book. Marriage in the 21st century has been under most threatening and challenging situations. This may be due to the sophisticated nature and insatiable and controversial craving of the human mind or the complex nature of our contemporary society, but a cursory look at the evolution of the institution of marriage down through the ages will reveal that marriage is a human act that have remained a complicated, a mysterious reality that have not lent itself easily for human comprehension in terms of the secrets, techniques, principles, skills of a successful marriage. This is because what has worked for another woman may not be something that will help another in a different home. So, people who have successful marriages, people who are divorced, people who are struggling daily to sustain their marriages, and even people who are yet to marry have almost unique stories to narrate about their experiences and expectation about marriage. However, recorded human experiences have revealed uncountable times that material wealth, physical beauty, intelligence, education, exposure, even humility are not certainly the only key parameters or requirements for a successful marriage. Just last or 2 months ago, many of you might have read how the wife of possibly the richest man on earth wrote to him demanding for divorce. Big get. Not the husband, it's the wife who requested for it. So will you say people go into marriage in search of wealth or riches when somebody who have found one who is the richest man on earth, yet requesting to leave? Such a contradiction. However, in the field of marriage, so many issues have been discussed, so many factors are usually raised, and this field remains open and perpetually yearning for scholarly intervention on how best to secure marriage and maintain a good home. It is in this respect that Wilfred Bola has joined the vast array of concerned people to make his contribution on this controversial issue of marriage in his book titled The Fullness of Marriage. His work is most timely and appropriate, particularly at this time that globalization and acculturation, aided by social media revolution, has conspired to attack certain basic human values and institutions, including marriage. He has advanced his thoughts on marriage from his personal experience, an accumulation of experience as an ordained minister of God over several years. The book has taken a critical survey on marriage from the cosmological perspective of God's creation through different encounters with God and humanity to the present state. Like I mentioned earlier, the book is divided into 3 parts, namely the creative concepts, the spirit being, and then a being concept. And the book is written in 12 chapters. Chapter 1, I will be taking you through chapter by chapter, some of the basic issues there briefly. In chapter 1, titled Manifestation of Love, chapter 1, there's a little something, please. In chapter 1, titled Creation and Origin, The author recalls how God consented to make man. Let us make man, quoting the Bible. Let us make man in our own image and likeness, and to let him have dominion over everything on the surface of the earth, unquote. The author talks about how God created both heaven and earth, and how Lucifer became rebellious to God and was thrown to earth. He further added that man is just a custodian of everything on earth. The author gave an analogy of Nigeria during the colonial era being ruled by the governor general, who were to always give an account of their stewardship to the Queen of England. And this is akin to the governorship of the earth by man for God, who is the supreme and super essential leader. Still, in this chapter, the author asserted that God saw a seed for compatibility. So a seed for compatibility and companionship of man. That man was not lonely, but alone. And God made a comparable helper that was a woman. In chapter 2, titled Manifestation of Love. In this chapter, the author advanced that marriage is not just a social ceremony of joining a man and a woman through nuptial vows. That it is rather a spiritual relationship between God through his Son, Jesus Christ. That genuine marriage can only be possible when there's God's love dwelling in the home. He further stated that where there's no love, there's no life. And if invariably, there be no potency to produce or create life. For love, it is that brings life. And life is the breath of God. In chapter 3, titled Comparative Formation, the author states in this chapter that, and I quote, the relationship between man and woman is simply to bring themselves together in remembrance of our Creator, in remembrance of what our Creator will for us. The author clearly captured that the breaking of the bread and wine through the communion is synonymous with the sacrifice of being one heart and mind and soul. The bodies of those who contract marriage and any other Christian body is the temple of God. Any act of defilement is a sin against God. He further describes some marriages as absentee marriages, where couples off away from each other due to the carnal pursuit or materialism or job requirement, and this act have led to infidelity and collapse of many homes. In chapter 4, titled The Reproductive Seed, here the author stated that every society is a reflection of the people that gave life to its being. This is even truer with the institution of marriage. If it is of Christ, it will ultimately and effortlessly reflect the behavior of God, of Christ in its entire doings, and so its offspring. He also affirmed that the obvious fact that no two marriages are the same. The fact I earlier stated, that no two marriages are the same. In chapter 5, Spirit Life, titled Spirit Life, this chapter explains that every created being is regulated by two spirits, the Spirit of God and a personal spirit. For those who have accepted the Lord Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. In this chapter, the author sounds like the Calvinist, that everything that happens in the physical has been premeditated in the activeness of the Spirit. That marriage will be an association of bedfellows if it is not conjoined through the Spirit of Christ. In chapter 6, titled Interpersonal Relationship, the book captured here that marriage is the best description of what a relationship truly means. Therefore, for the relationship to exhibit its intended purpose in practice, it must have a good understanding of its relationship partners, for flawless interaction that can only be achieved by the following virtues. 1, tolerance, sacrifice, mutual respect, responsibility, and sound communication, among others. In chapter 7, titled Responsibility, Consequences of a Breach and Reaction. Here the author affirms that the man is the head of the home. There are severe consequences that lead to a collapse of marriage life when the woman wants to take over the authority of the house. He reminded couples of St. Paul's letter to the wives who are called to submit to their husbands, and how husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church, as he gave his life up for her. He further asserted that the primary need of a man from a woman does not only involve sexual intercourse, but respect. If a woman is submissive to the husband, she gets everything from him. In chapter 8, return to originality. Here, the author stated that everything that was created through Christ's supreme power is good and original. However, Satan counterfeited some purposes by taking humanity away from the purpose of God. Nevertheless, marriage serves as a check on our relationship with God at all times. If the relationship of a human marriage between man and woman conflicts, then know that you are equally in conflict with your relationship with God. The chapter concluded that marriage is not a status to fulfill a social requirement, but it is a physical representation as an example of relationship of Christ with man. In chapter 9, titled Observation in Training, here the author stated that in every venture one undertakes, there is a need to estimate a plan and expectation in order not to fail. Marriage is not an exception. Therefore, courtship is an integral part of marriage which should not be taken for granted. That they would be couple is to use this period to understand themselves better. Within this period, they are to listen to parental advice, learn to tolerate each other, and have forgiving hearts, and learn to correct with love. But importantly, the author hinted that if during courtship you find that there are some elements of incompatibility, the will-be couple should excuse themselves at that stage. In chapter 10, titled Responsibility. In this chapter, the author captures marriage like any other institution is guided by some frameworks, that there are roles of responsibility for both the man and woman as long as they contract marriage. Failure to live up to this responsibility bring a lot of gaps in a marriage. No matter how busy or highly placed in society, a spouse should not neglect his or her primary and distinct responsibility in a marriage. The chapter clearly outlined and elaborated on the different responsibilities that both husbands and wives have in a Christian home. In chapter 11, which is second to the last, titled Finding and Loving. This chapter focuses on finding the right and compatible person to marry. A man is to leave his father and mother and be joined by his wife. This should be done out of free will, such that blames won't be laid on others. The author's future advised the advised the intending couples to find certain qualities that they feel they are much comfortable with, particularly the qualities that they will live permanently with it as long as they remain married. He also discussed other findings in terms of the stages that they can go through those processes and period of finding. And then finally, in chapter 12, titled, What You Don't Want, You Don't Watch. What you don't want, you don't watch. Here, the author implies that notwithstanding every laid down process as outlined in the book or any marriage counseling guideline, it is impossible to have a marriage relationship devoid of misunderstanding. However, the worst form of tolerance is incompatibility is when either or both of the spouses no longer have sexual urges for each other. At that level, according to the author, the marriage is over. The book concluded that Christ remains the center of every genuine marital union. Now, my concluding remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, these are the contents that the author has presented. Dr. Wilfred Bola, in this book, The Fullness of Marriage, would not have come at a better time than now. The author has treated one of the most delicate and controversial issues in human history, as I've earlier observed. He has taken us through a meticulous expedition about the ups and downs of marriage as far as married life is concerned. Interestingly, he has avoided the usual academic approach of theorization and normativity about marriage, but he has opted rather to share his personal experiences and perspective in this respect with us. It is on this note that I resisted the temptation to deploy critical evaluative methodology in this review, but rather adopted an expository methodology, just to lay bare the thoughts of the author as written for easy comprehension and appreciation. Let me note for record purposes that this position I have taken is based on the above premise that my approach in the review of this book was devoid of any scholarly imperative because it is logically fallacious to pick holes in the personal experience of an individual. So I see this book as a compendium of an individual's experience. So it is scholarly not advisable to join issues in such a context. However, it is on this note, sorry, I've lost my way. This is because the author has taken cover against any scholarly scrutiny by his declaration that this book is basically a product of his experience. However, it is worth noting that the author declared in the preliminary pages, particularly in the Roman numeral 13, that, and I quote, until you are married under the spiritual covenant, until you partake in a koinonia, intercourse or communion with the blood of Jesus, your human marriage will only be a contract which can be done away with, a written